All right, we're back. Another solo episode. I feel like you take my autonomy when you press the record button for me. Jeordie just came and pressed record, but that's what I like to do. It's always a bad start, but I'm not going to complain. Just going to get on with it. This episode's a little bit, I don't know, kind of out of character for me, but it's based on what people consistently request. In every episode, I tend to say stuff like, I hate to use myself as an example, but more and more people are requesting more stuff about me. And this isn't necessarily about me, but a little bit more from the heart, I guess. So this episode is pretty much a message to say that it's okay to want more of yourself. It's okay to want to win. I think I'm often not mistaken, but I come across as a relatively agreeable, nice, friendly sort of person, which I am, 100%. But I probably don't project or put into the world much how sort of ruthless I am from a competitive standpoint. I want to win. If I'm playing a board game with you, I'm not there to have fun. I'm there to destroy you and probably ruin the night. That is my number one intention. I am planning to win. I am not going to be a very graceful winner. I'm hungry. And the same can be said in business. Like I'm not opening gyms to make friends with all the other gyms around me necessarily. Now that doesn't mean you go around and be a dickhead and burn every bridge. I'm not like that at all. But I want to win. I want to be ahead. I want to push this thing, and not for me, but because of what it represents for what I'm trying to achieve, which is to grow powerlifting. I want powerlifting to win, and I want to be driving that. Like that's the reality, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm really projecting that to give myself my own advice, because I think I struggle with that a lot. I'm generally whatever the opposite of arrogant is. I'm probably a little bit too humble in that I don't recognize the success of things around me, and it's a message I probably need to hear more of. And again, I want to share the fact that I am hungry and I am competitive. Anyway, I don't want to make this whole thing about me. This is about you. Again, there is nothing wrong with wanting to win. Go and watch the Nike ad that Willem Dafoe narrates. It's the best advertisement I've ever seen in my entire life. I absolutely love it. But in that advertisement, Willem Dafoe is narrating it, and it's all about winning, and he just keeps saying over and over, "Am I a bad person?" And it's really good. You have to watch it. So pause this, go watch that, then come back and keep watching. Now, one thing I learned very early on as part of being in business and being a young man kind of finding his foot in the world is that there is a fine line between confidence and cockiness. And if you cross that line into cockiness and arrogance, you're ultimately destined to fail. And I've seen so many people go through this and either come out of the other side, learning their lesson, becoming confident, becoming humble and pushing forward. And I've also seen people crash and burn because they refuse to not be arrogant and to not be cocky. Cockiness kind of says, or arrogance kind of says, I will not fail. I cannot fail. I'm better than everyone and everything, and I'm just the best, and you can't beat me. There's something to a message of, like self-assuredness, but cockiness, you stop being risk-averse, you take too big risks, and you can fly too close to the sun. Confidence, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite in the sense that it's built because of your failures. Failure after failure after failure leads you to develop confidence because you stay in the game and you learn strategies to overcome or get around those failures or eventually stop failing at that particular thing. And so confidence breeds longevity, and longevity is ultimately what wins. And this applies to both powerlifting and business in a lot of ways, which is why I love, I guess, talking about this sort of stuff, because there are parallels between training and business. And I think I've learned to love to get good at business because of my love for powerlifting and the qualities that made me succeed in powerlifting, not necessarily being the best powerlifter, but sticking around for a long time and making consistent progress for a long time. Now, I have, of course, been cocky. I opened the gym when I was 23. I was 23. I didn't really know my place in the world. I was a young man coming up. Of course, in something like strength sports, you probably enter into this world born of some form of insecurity. There's there's a lot of comparing. There's a lot of insecurity, muscles, bodies, testosterone, all the rest of it in the mix. And it can be a recipe for disaster. I definitely have had my fair share of experiencing cockiness over the years. Now, anyone who's known me for an awful long time probably disagrees with that. They'll probably be like, no, your problem is you're too humble, not too cocky. The problem for me was that the cockiness existed in my head, and it doesn't matter if it's outward or inward, it's poison regardless. Cockiness or arrogance is poison in the sense that it immediately closes your mind. It really closes your mind to the opportunity of learning and growth. And this is why cocky people fail, because when you fail, if you're not open-minded to something has to change or I need to be better, you'll just either keep failing, fail harder, and quit. Like, that'll be the end of it. You can't grow, you can't be better if you're ruled by arrogance or cockiness. So I've had times in my coaching career where I thought I was hot shit as a coach, which is so ironic because now as an older, wiser, more humble and experienced coach, I look back on that kid and think, you didn't know shit. Like you were useless. You're all right. Like I could see you coming up. You're all right, but you were a terrible coach, man. You had so much to learn. And so like in those cocky years, if I didn't kick myself up the ass and be like, what are you doing? This isn't you. This isn't your personality. You're being affected by whatever, the comparison game or something like that. I mean, really, if I reflect back on times where I was cocky and I thought I was hot shit or whatever, that's how I identified it. I was spending so much time just reading things on the internet, going on forums, Instagram wasn't really a thing, but Facebook groups were a big thing back then, going on these Facebook groups and reading and just wasting so much time just going through this stuff and being like, you don't know shit, I'm better than you, in my head. And eventually I can't remember the message I heard or who I heard it from, but something switched in my head to, this is a giant waste of time. You should be looking at these people that you're thinking you're better than, because that better than you attitude comes from a place of insecurity. Normally it's like, how are you getting attention? How are you getting ahead? How are you successful when I know more about this thing than you do? And so at some point I flipped that on its head and I thought, no, they're getting ahead because they have something that I don't, and I have a lot to learn from them. And I learned that pretty early on in my coaching and gym ownership life. And that really helped me excel over the years, is carrying that mindset of not, why is this person doing better than me in a negative way, and thinking I should be just as good as them, or I should have as many followers as them, or I should get as much attention as them, to why are they getting more attention than me? What can I learn from them? What are they doing so well that I'm doing so poorly? How can I learn from them? And in the process of doing that, people who I had made enemies in my head that I'd never spoken, I'd never talked to or met or anything like that, have eventually become peers, which is really cool, because not only have I been able to learn from them by proxy by watching their wins when I flipped that attitude, eventually I got to learn from them by actually talking to them and becoming peers with people like that. So it's a really powerful thing, and I hope this message reaches someone who's sort of walking on that edge and needs the message of stop comparing yourself to everyone else. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your clients. It's literally just a massive waste of time. If you're going to dedicate that energy towards other people and comparing, don't compare. Rather, look at what you think, that you look at what they are doing well and what you can learn from them. And if there's nothing there, well, then cut your losses and move on. Find someone else you can learn from. Stop wasting that time that you could be using to look after yourself, to better yourself, to learn something, to put towards your business, to coach more people, to make more money, to whatever it is that serves you well. And being arrogant and cocky and comparing does not serve you at all in any way, shape, or form. And if you think it does, it's going to trip you up eventually anyway. So, like I said, even though my cockiness wasn't outward, I wasn't putting posts out that made me sound arrogant. I've always been very mindful of that because I don't like reading other posts that sound arrogant. I went through periods of time where inwardly I was getting a bit too big for my britches, so to speak. It's a big problem with having a big ego. It makes you compare too much. And again, that energy you spend comparing is energy that you waste. It's the same as hating on someone. Like, if you're a hater, if you're spending all this time hating on someone, it doesn't serve anybody. Like, it's literally a waste of time. I'm always mind blown by the people that actually put energy into hating people, into trying to tear someone down, because it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. It's literally just a straight up waste of time. And the irony of it is, you hate on people generally that are ahead of you in some way, shape, or form. And the people that are ahead of you, they're not looking back on you, hating on you back, because they know it's a waste of their time. The only time they look back and see you is to compare how far ahead they are of you. And the longer you spend hating, the further away they pull, until there's no point in them looking back. And then you're just a footnote in their story. So don't waste your time doing it. It doesn't help anybody. Through this process, one thing I attribute to my university degree. Like, my university degree doesn't really do much for me in the day and age, but I try and pick out as much as I can from what I actually did at uni. So I did a degree in health science and honors in public health. Most of my uni stuff was around research, was around public health and epidemiology and that kind of stuff. It was like human anatomy and physiology, a medical side of things, a chemistry side of things. I actually love that stuff a lot. But anyway, one big thing I pulled from the scientific side of my degree, and then when I worked as a nutritionist, like a community nutritionist, that was my role. I did research. The scientific method is not about trying to get stuff right. It's about coming up with a null hypothesis and looking for evidence to say the null hypothesis is right. So in other words, it's about trying to say, here's what I think is right. I'm going to do experiments to try and prove it wrong. If every experiment fails, then the likely reality is that what I think is right is probably right. That's how you need to approach your coaching, your business, your training, your mindset, whatever it is when you are confident that you're right about something. If you want to improve, if you want to get better, you're constantly testing it by trying to prove it wrong. Like, if I reflect on my coaching system, so my coaching system was just like how I coached. Then it became what I taught in the coach development system, and it got refined. And then as that went on and the coach development system evolved, and then I opened gyms and had to teach my own coaches and make a workable, scalable model, we have a really defined system that is a plug and play model of how to coach, basically, of how to coach powerlifting. It's all built around the gold standard. If you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me talk about that stuff before, right? And in order to refine that system over the last 10, 12, 15 years, however long it's been, what I consistently do is when I hear new information that kind of bucks against what I believe to be true, I lean into that new information and I test it, and I want it to prove me wrong so I can change my thing and continue to grow and get better. And if it can't prove it wrong, then I know I'm onto something good. And that's why I'm so set in my ways in terms of my coaching system, in terms of this technical gold standard, because the more I try to prove it wrong and the little tweaks we've made along the way that have been proven wrong, the stronger it gets and the harder it is to prove wrong. Like, I reflect back on if you've been around for a little while, when the whole Bill Hartman popularized stuff, and then Pat Davidson really got it out there to the masses, and people were talking about universal stuff and helices and counter nutation and all this like astrophysics stuff applied to your fucking pelvis. And it was a weird time, man. It was a very weird time. There was stuff that was really bucking the trend of what I believe to be true. And so I wasn't going to waste my time looking at Instagram posts. I went straight to the source. I got mentoring from Pat Davidson for like 14 weeks or something like that, presenting what I believe to be true and picking it apart to death with this guy, trying to find holes in the theory. And pretty much all of it kind of held up, you know. And so that was really empowering. And that's what I've tried to do my entire coaching career, in air quotes, is to try and prove myself wrong, to bolster this system, to get better results, because it's all about the person on the other end. It's not about some self-grandizing, whatever the word is, well, look at me, look at the system I've created. It's no, if I can create a robust system that I can teach to other coaches, then I can help more people. I can bring more people to powerlifting, this thing that I love and this thing that I want to be an evangelist of all over the world. Anyway, part of this whole self-improvement and desire to win and desire to get better and grow is the idea of practicing gratitude. Now, don't switch off just now. I know I might have, I don't mean gratitude in the lame way of like waking up and writing in your diary and yelling affirmations in the mirror or whatever it is you like to do. No offense to people who like to do that. Do whatever works for you and however you like to practice gratitude. But I mean practicing gratitude in the sense of staying humble by the reality of the fact that you're not doing this on your own. And if you think you're doing it on your own, you're just wrong. Like you are sincerely incorrect if you think you're doing this solo. Are you working alone? Maybe. Yeah, sure. You're working alone. You've been building it by yourself, your coaching brand or your powerlifting image or whatever it may be. But you're not doing it alone. You've had help along the way that you don't even realize. I heard a great thing the other day about education. Education, like as an educator, if you're a teacher, a university lecturer, when I'm presenting the coach development course, generally we're not presenting, you listening to the podcast, there's education on this podcast, I am not presenting new information. I didn't make up the words that I'm using. When I talk about biceps, I didn't define what biceps are, where they are. I didn't work out how they work, how muscles work. I'm taking information that exists and I'm repackaging it in such a way that you find entertaining or riveting enough or engaging enough to sit through fucking 16 minutes of this podcast or however long it's been. That's all education is. It's just repackaging existing information in such a way that makes it enjoyable for you to hear. And the same can be said with content. It's exactly the same thing. There's very limited, creative, unique content. It's the same stuff done in a way that you vibe with. And so when I talk about practicing gratitude, it's recognizing that even if you've done this yourself, you're using platforms that people have built. You're using information that people have discovered. You're not doing it yourself. And there's something really, really fantastic and humbling about that. It's not just humbling in a way of like, oh, I'm useless. I didn't even do anything myself. It's humbling in the sense of we're all helping each other. Like in some way, shape or form, we're all contributing to this bigger thing. And that's really, really cool. And then it sort of says, well, how can I contribute to this thing where the people that are engaging with me get some value out of me? Because I guarantee if you're a coach and even if you're a lifter interacting with other lifters in your gym, people are getting something out of you. And it's a really cool thing to think I can have a positive impact on somebody else. Like, isn't that such a warming, humbling thing to consider? And I guarantee no matter your position in this world, somebody gets something out of you that they love. Somebody loves you very much. Guarantee it. Even if it's your mum, your sister, whoever it is, somebody is getting something unique and powerful and special out of you. And that is a very, very, very humbling and beautiful thing. All right. I'm going to finish this off now because I'm not an expert on the topic that I'm talking about. And I really didn't know where this was going to go, to be honest. My notes today are literally just statements. They weren't even, normally I structure notes in a way that flows a coherent podcast that makes sense. I just wrote down a bunch of statements and it took me like 4 goes. I first started writing another podcast that I thought, well, that's actually going to be a great 13th birthday for ZeroW in a couple of months podcast, inspired by Pat Belinsky. So thank you, Pat, if you're listening. I know you're listening. You're probably second on this after Jacob Funstein. Anyway, when it comes to like self-development and self-improvement and all those other terms, whatever you want to call it, sometimes you have to weigh up the fact that there is actually cost that comes with this. If your pursuit is trying to be better, is to trying to win at whatever it is, whether it is winning the game of life in terms of self-improvement and empowering and encouraging those around you, there is a cost that comes up with that. And the ultimate cost that I've learned the older I get, and I'm not that old, I'm like 36, but I feel like I'm becoming an adult like now. I'm experiencing all the adult things, like looking back 10 years and being like, I wish my body still performed like that. You know, I feel old. I'm experiencing those things. I'm experiencing the time that I have spent grinding away working. I wish I had spent connecting with people more. And yeah, anyway, let's not get too existential. There is a cost that comes with self-improvement. And one of the biggest costs is, and again, I'm finding this as I'm getting older, I'm struggling to get my words out because I feel emotion, which is strange. When you invest in yourself growing, people around you that are not growing at the same rate, you will drift apart from. And watching it happen in real time, it's kind of heartbreaking. It's not a nice experience. You outgrow people. I've been digesting and listening to business stuff and self-help stuff and psychology stuff, and I've spent tens of $1,000s on psychologists and courses and self-help sort of stuff. Self-help in air quotes, stuff that I deem as self-help. And you hear them say this kind of stuff, and when you actually see it and feel it, it's shocking. And so if you are a person who's interested in their own personal business development as an athlete, it's different. Like, let's use the athlete example, because most people listening to this who are either coaches or lifters will relate to this a little bit more. It's like you prioritize your sleep, prioritize your eating, don't drink alcohol, don't go out and party that much. Whatever, sacrifices or changes that you've made to lean into your athletic performance, when you're at your workplace and they're like, "Whoa, what are you doing that for? What do you mean? What do you mean you're not coming out for beers after? Oh, yeah, you don't have to train tonight, mate. Train tomorrow." That kind of stuff. And you're just like, they just don't understand. They just don't get it. When that starts happening with people who are close to you, it's kind of shocking. And you've got a limited amount of time that you can dedicate to all this stuff, to relationships of any kind, family relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, and work, and self-development and improvement, and wanting to win, and wanting to train, and all this other stuff. And sometimes you just kind of wake up and realize that the time you're spending with certain people around you is now a cost to you rather than an investment in your time. Like, these people will cost you energy. They will cost you time. And it's really sad, and it's really hard to experience. So there is a cost to wanting to run a race faster, is all I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know how to put more words to that without becoming really emotional about it. The last statement that I wrote down, I'm just going to finish on this because it's nice to finish on. It kind of follows on from what I was just saying, which is, when you do improve, or when you do run this race and run even faster and feel yourself pulling away from others that you never thought you'd pull away from and never thought you wouldn't connect with. And this is especially true of people who are automatically close to you, like family. So there's business people that will say stuff about family that I don't really agree with, because I'm a family guy. It's in my blood, and most people are kind of family people. However, anyway, don't take the opinion of people who haven't done what you're trying to do to heart. Like when someone's like, you're working too much, you need to have more work-life balance. Don't listen to that stuff. They don't know that. You train too much. What are you training 5 days a week for? You're going to kill yourself doing it. They don't know. They don't get it. They don't understand. Don't take those opinions to heart, because it's really easy to let them weigh on you. You have to learn to become resilient to the point where it's water off a duck's back. They don't understand. And their opinions don't matter. Why are you listening to the opinions of people who aren't doing what you want to do, who will never do what you want to do, who don't care about what you want to do? Why should their opinion matter on that particular thing? Doesn't mean their opinions don't matter on other things. You might respect their opinions on other things. But it's no different than a hater on the internet calling you a piece of shit and you being like, oh, wow, yeah, you know what? I am a piece of shit. Their opinion doesn't matter because they don't know you and they don't know what you're trying to do. Even the people close to you, if they don't understand what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to run to, how fast you're trying to go, what you're trying to improve to, what you're trying to lift, if they don't understand that stuff, their opinion is a different language. It doesn't make sense to what you're trying to achieve, and you don't have to listen to it. And again, that was something that took me a very long time to learn. A little bit out of the ordinary episode. If you liked it, let me know, because I can do more stuff like this. I know I was a little bit awkward stumbling my way through it, but I hope you got some nuggets of value through there regardless, and I'll catch you in the next one.